5. Now on BBC Two, there's a starman waiting in the sky. It's Top of the Pops 2.
Hi, this is David Bowie, and welcome to Top of the Pops 2.
Thank you, David. Tonight on Top of the Pops 2, it's a David Bowie special. The life and times of a musical Ghanaian, a pop legend. We're in the vaults to bring you Bowie as a virtual child. Ziggy will be there, and so will Queen. The David Bowie special here on Top of the Pops 2. First, it's 1972.
Real nuggets, anything on rock and roll, there seemed to be so little of it that when it did appear on television, it seemed like the most, like the holy grail, especially if it was from America. They'd show a clip from a movie. I remember getting so excited when they showed Little Richard from, I think the film was called Disc Jockey Jamboree. And it was just amazing to actually see him moving, you know, because I hadn't seen the movie, I just saw this clip of him. And he'd just been a record to me before, you know. I got my photographs of him from the New Musical Express. Do you remember that magazine? There was an advert in the back for Star Zone photographs. And I think it was about 2 and 6pence or something. And so I sent for 2 photographs of Little Richard. And I only got 1. So I lost half a crown. I got 1, and that one was torn. I was so pissed. I put sellotape on it, and I stuck it, because I didn't think about sending it back, because I thought I'd never see it again if I sent it back. So I've still got it. That's one of the few things I got from that far in the past. My picture of Little Richard with sellotape on. Same bit of yellow sellotape. I guess Thursday's Child is somebody, he's somebody that maybe felt that he'd achieved anything that he was ever going to achieve in his life, which wasn't very much. And that the way forward looked as bleak as much of his past had done, and that it was maybe an overpowering sense of dispassion in his life, until it was changed by meeting this particular person that he falls in love with. So it's like his glimmer of, a glimmer of salvation. When we went back as the Spiders to do Starman, because we kind of knew that what we were doing was like singularly different to anything else that was happening. So there was that kind of frisson, you know, that sense of anticipation that we were unleashing this thing on the world. All the bravado of being in your 20s. Keen to write songs. In fact, I think I almost thought that I would end up being a writer of musicals at the time, in the 60s. I hadn't made up my mind whether I was going to do sort of solo work as a singer, writer, or whether I was going to stay more in the background and kind of write things for stage with songs in them. And I had a publisher in London who sent me a French song, Comme d'habitude. You have to do it from here, I think. Comme d'habitude. And he said, but do you want to try and supply an English lyric to this? And I said, yeah, all right. Yeah, that'd be good exercise. So I wrote a lyric for it called Even a Fool Learns to Love, or some such drivel. It was really ropey. But I thought I'd make a few bob out of it. But I didn't. He said, yeah, thank you, this is really terrible. I'm giving it to somebody else. Next thing I heard, it had been done, rewritten again by Paul Anka, and it came back as My Way, and Sinatra had done it. I was so pissed. I thought, I'll write my own then. So I wrote Life on Mars. When I was making Hours, I wanted some sense of the past. I wanted some sense of the style of writing that I might have started off with, you know, that many years ago. I didn't really want to duplicate the early 70s period at all. So it just reflects on it. It's not supposed to be a sort of a retro feel to it. But I wanted to, I wanted to create the album with more conventional, traditional songwriting forms. You know, so there's very little experimentation in the studio. A lot of it was just straightforward songwriting. So I enjoy that. I still like working in that way. I'd come back from New York having caught one of the last performances of the Velvet Underground, who I had admired tremendously since around 66, 67. I was one of that tiny bastion of Velvet Underground fans in London at the time, before they were kind of generally known. And I'd gotten into the Electric Circus to see the gig. The Electric Circus is a very famous rock club in New York, which is subsequently closed. I think it must have closed in the 70s. And I watched the entire show, and there were not many people in the audience because their star had begun to dim in New York. And I saw, the whole band were there with Lou Reed singing the songs up front and all that. And I thought it was just tremendous, and I was singing along with the band, stuck right there at the apron of the stage, waiting for the man. White light, white hair. Heroin. That kind of stuff. And then during the break, actually no, at the end of the show, I went backstage and I knocked on the door. And John Cale came to the door, and I said, "Is Lou Reed in?" I'd love to talk. I'm from England, and I'd love to talk, because I'm in music too, and he's a bit of a hero to me. He said, "Wait here," he said. And so Lou comes out, and we're sitting outside talking on the bench for about a quarter of an hour about writing songs and what it's like to be Lou Reed and all that. And afterwards, I was floating on a cloud and went back to my hotel, and the guy that I knew in New York, once I was over here, I said, "I've just seen the Velvet Underground. I got to talk with Lou Reed for 15 minutes. He said, "Yeah?" He said, "Lou Reed left the band last year." I said, "I think you've been down." I said, "Well, who was that?" He said, "What did it look like?" I said, "It looked just like Lou Reed." He said, "Well, that's Doug Yule. He's the guy that took over from Lou Reed." I thought, what an imposter. Wow, that's incredible. It doesn't matter, really, because I still talk to Lou Reed as far as I'm concerned. And coming back to England, one of the memories I brought back was was All That. So I wrote Queen Bitch as kind of an homage to Velvet Underground. Maybe it's probably my favourite, one of the two favourite new songs from the Hours album. There's something I really find authentically early 70s about the writing structure of Survive. And it's a joy to sing on stage. It's probably one of the favourites of the new songs to actually perform. I think there was an assemblage job on that one. It was actually, I didn't know Queen very well. I knew Roger, the drummer, quite well, but I didn't really know Freddie. But he was in the neighbourhood where I lived in Switzerland, and they owned the studio down there at Mountain. And they were in over a week's period, and I just popped in one night, and somehow or other we ended up writing this thing together, as usually happens when musicians get together. I'm very pleased I did it. It was nice to be part of that little bit of history.
Under pressure, under pressure, pressure.
Very good.
And you can join Steve Wright every weekday afternoon with guests and a chance to test your knowledge in the big quiz, daily from 2 o'clock on BBC.